I've got it right here, and it's now shipping AVA Cinema Remote. Let's take a look right now on Smash Tech. The moment you take an AVA Cinema Remote out of its package, you can tell it's something special. By its aluminum body and high-res edge-to-edge screen is beautiful. And the weight? It's perfect. This single device can control whole theater systems and more using a combination of both IP and IR. And one of its key innovations is this right here, the Dynamic Keypad. The Dynamic Keypad uses a three-dimensional glass ring to guide your thumb to the D-pad center so your eyes can watch the TV without looking down. And the Dynamic Keypad has the perfect mechanical click so you can feel every button press you make. You'll find that the power button on the side is flush. To power on, either hold this button or put the remote on its charging dock. Its charging dock looks great with its premium braided USB-C cable, especially since the cable connection is nicely concealed under the base. And it's heavy enough to stay put. Strong magnets pull the remote in so it reliably connects with its charging contacts. But the stand's weight ensures it lets go properly when you pick up the remote. The result is a charging base that shows off the cinema remote and looks beautiful wherever it lives. Now I know you want me to show you how it works, but hold on. You just saw the device's outside design. Let's talk about what it has inside. Then we can see how it works. First, Cinema Remote uses a state-of-the-art dual-band Wi-Fi chipset for excellent connectivity. And its battery allows it to run idle for several days when left off its charging base. And it's powered by an octa-core main processor. That enables it to run the complete AVA OS automation system right on the remote, while still having plenty of power to keep its user interface feeling snappy, even in a multi-room system. What I'm saying here is that unlike most remotes in the pro install industry, the Cinema Remote is built using modern smartphone tech instead of the older architectures most remotes use. That lets it do a bunch of cool stuff. What do I mean by cool stuff? Well, let's start with flows. Flows are kind of like macros. They're packages of logic for doing things like watching TV or listening to music. Let's take a look. Each one of these icons is a flow. When I swipe over, there are a couple more here. When I tap DirecTV, it runs a flow that turns on the TV, satellite box, anything needed for watching DirecTV. And then the Dynamic Keypad lights up with the right buttons for watching DirecTV. Now I know the Dynamic Keypad is super cool. We're going to look at that in just a second. But stick with me here for a moment. We're talking about flows. Let's take a quick look at how that flow works by examining its launch sequence. You can see how it turns on the TV, then the satellite box, and then waits before switching inputs. Each of these steps was generated automatically when I set up this remote. I didn't have to do any programming to create this. Now, of course, you can modify flows and do a lot of customization, but AVA OS handles most of the work. If you want to learn how to do the setup, check out the AVA training channel's first setup video. I'll drop a link at the end of this episode too. Flows are how AVA OS does automation. Looking back at the remote, you can see that not only do we have DirecTV and Netflix, but there are flows for adjusting the AC and listening to music. The Sonos flow here doesn't just start Sonos at my house, it launches the Sonos app. And that's just the living room. I have other flows in the kitchen and home cinema. All right, now let's talk about the most innovative feature of the Cinema Remote, the Dynamic Keypad. And the only way I can really explain it well is to show how different it is from all the other remotes out there. Like this one, with its huge array of buttons. Yikes. Cinema Remote's Dynamic Keypad adapts to whatever you're watching or listening to. Right now, we have the controls that make sense for listening to music with Spotify. But if I switch to DirecTV, the controls switch. And now they're perfect for watching a satellite box, volume, channels, menu, and back, and a D-pad for navigation. All the most important buttons are there. But let's say you're watching Netflix. In that case, these channel buttons don't make sense. So watch what happens when I start Netflix. The channel buttons get replaced with controls that make sense for Netflix. Each device you install will have its own ideal button set on the Dynamic Keypad, depending on what gets used most. Instead of the age-old solution of adding more buttons to a remote, Cinema Remote adapts. But what about when you want to enter a channel by number? Well, let's consider that. There aren't any numbers on the Dynamic Keypad, right? So here's where Cinema Remote's touchscreen comes in. When you start a flow like DirecTV here, it's not just the Dynamic Keypad that adapts. Up here, the touchscreen also adapts. And with a simple swipe, there's a number pad for entering channels. So the buttons you use less are still there. And you might have missed what I swiped away from. You can also put your client's favorite channels on the favorites page so they can just tap an icon. And of course, you have DVR controls too, for things like the record button. And this is kind of subtle, but watch what happens on the Dynamic Keypad when I swipe between the transport control screen and one of the channel control screens. The Dynamic Keypad is adapting even to this. Channel control makes sense when you have the number pad up, but transport controls are better in the context of recorded programming. This combination, a natural feeling hard button keypad that adapts to whatever is the current flow, and a touch screen for easy access to the functions that you use less often but still need. It sets Cinema Remote apart. There's nothing like it. From its sleek design and hardware innovations, to the fact that the remote has enough power to run a complete automation system and still feel as fluid and responsive as my iPhone. When you get your hands on it, I think you'll agree. It's something special. And it's about time something like this came along in our industry. Please give this video a like and let me know your thoughts in the comments. And check out the first setup video here to see how to get a Cinema Remote up and running.